So before we move on about this topic of instincts, if we reflect and ponder on these patterns that we see, these notions that we gather from the design of creation, it reveals to us that there is certainly a creator, that there is certainly a designer, that there is certainly one who puts the pattern there, one who creates the organization. Imagine if you were walking in a desert and you come across an oasis. You find in that oasis a palace, gems encrusted on its doors, marble floors. You go in, you see a table laid out on the floor, food warm and prepared, nice cool drinks. But you don't find something there. What don't you find? You don't see any person. You just see this palace designed, made, food prepared, but you don't find anybody there. Our minds will tell us that there had to be a designer. There had to be someone who prepared this place. This, in the science of logic, ilm mantiq, if you have a knock on the door, then you will have your mind jump right to the indication that there is somebody behind the door. When a person hears the doorbell ring, their mind will indicate that there is someone at the door. All creation is like this. All creation is a sign that indicates to us that there is a creator. Pattern and design does not happen by chance. And that's proven. So over here, when we look at these kinds of patterns, when we look at alam al-haywaniya, we could find that there are patterns and organization. And those patterns and organizations, if we ponder on them, if we reflect, they indicate to us that there certainly is a creator, that there certainly is a designer, that there certainly is a wise and all-powerful creator. So just before we get into our topic, because our topic today is the importance of aql, intellect, in human elevation. That is, by intellect, humanity is raised higher. But before we get into that, we can reflect on this point of how we can find in all creation that it is a sign pointing to a creator. Now, I said that amongst these patterns and designs and organization, we find amongst the realm of animality, alam al-haywaniya, is something called instinct. Instinct we humans share as well with animals. So we have instincts and animals have instincts. With desire and intention, there is one creature that stands out. There is one creature that stands out amongst all the rest, which has been granted its footprint in the sands of time and history on the earth. An extraordinary footprint, an extraordinary mark. This one creature has stood out beyond all other creatures. This one creature has reached new levels, new horizons of discovery and realization. Who is this creature? This creature is a creature we're all very familiar with. This very creature is al-insan, is humanity, is mankind. Mankind has stood out amongst all the creatures that move with intention and desire, has been risen above them. But just like animals, humans also eat and drink. Humans also have desires. They share basic gariza, basic instincts. Although maybe their aim is different. Like humans' food is different. The food aim of humans is different than that of an insect or a cat. This is a good thing for us. And a good thing for the animal, because they have what they like, and Allah has given us what we like. So we share these basic instincts with the animals as well, having basic instincts and desires. Although their aims differ with them. As example, the cattle may eat grass, and humans may desire a nice meal of cattle, or a salad, or according to certain taste, maybe some spice or sweet or something like that. However, still, we find that these humans, insan, sets out above other creatures. But they share some basic instincts generally. However, something sets them apart from animals. Something sets us apart from the world of animality. And that thing is intellect. That thing which pulls us up, sets us humans out from other creatures that move with desire and intention, is the intellect. That thing which distinguishes us is the aql, the intellect. Briefly, intellect is a gem that Allah the Exalted created. By it, humanity realizes Allah. By it, humanity realizes Allah the Exalted and worships Allah. By it, the human being realizes to love Allah, knows to incline towards Allah, realizes the existence of Allah the Exalted. Realizes that we are accountable in front of Allah the Exalted. Realizes the importance of servitude, ubudiyah. Realizes the lordship, rububiyah. However, not everyone has what we call complete intellect. Amongst all humanity, not everybody has complete intellect. Complete intellect is found in someone whom Allah loves. Rather, what humans have is an average level of intellect. Humans have an average level of intellect upon which they can build, upon which they can seek more intellectual ability from Allah the Exalted. So humans have this basic common level of intellect. This basic common level of intellectual ability by which they can obey Allah the Exalted, by which they realize Allah the Exalted, and upon which they may seek to develop and increase in more complete levels and grades of intellect. There is a narration that supports my point here, that we are raised above other things that move and walk with intention because of intellect. This hadith, this narration, is narrated from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. Imam Sadiq is our 6th Imam. And we have a lot of narrations from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. There were thousands of students. He had thousands of students. So it is narrated that when Imam Sadiq alayhi salam was inquired of, that somebody came and they inquired of Imam Sadiq. They said, who are better, the angels or Bani Adam? Bani Adam means the children of Adam. Because all mankind, all humanity began with Adam. Allah the Exalted created Prophet Adam alayhi salam and created mankind from Prophet Adam. All of us are the children of Adam. So this person, he came and he said to Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, he said, who are better, the angels or the children of Adam? What did Imam Sadiq alayhi salam say? Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, he said, he quoted Imam Ali alayhi salam. Imam Ali is our first Imam. Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, whose martyrdom is on the 21st of Shahr Ramadan. If we all lived like Imam Ali, on a short note, we would be shining gems amongst the communities of the world. If we all took the example and the path and the lessons from Imam Ali alayhi salam and from the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, that would be living a successful life. There's so much to dive into and learn about Imam Ali. So anyways, but this Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, he quoted Imam Ali alayhi salam. He said, Allah gave the angels aql, intellect. So Imam Sadiq quoted Imam Ali, and Imam Ali alayhi salam said that Allah the Exalted gave the angels intellect, aql, without desire. So the angels, they have intellect without desires. Now we're not talking about intellectual desires. We're talking about animalistic desires. So Allah gave the angels intellect without desires. He gave the animals desires without the intellect. And He gave both to the sons of Adam, to mankind. So He gave both to the sons of Adam. So, briefly, before continuing the narration, this narration is telling us that the angels have intellect without animalistic desires. Animals have animalistic desires without intellect. And we have humanity, the children of Adam, the sons of Adam, mankind has both. It's good recipe for test and development. Okay, so the hadith continues. So a man whose intellect prevails over his desires is better than the angels, whilst the man whose desires prevails over his intellect is worse than the animals. When us mankind, both men and women, we don't use our intellect, we become lower than the animals. An animal just follows its desires. Us humans use these great blessings, these huge gems of blessings that Allah the Exalted has bestowed upon us the wrong way, against the directive of intellect, which recognizes and submits to Allah the Exalted. And so we have the humans have both intellect and desires. So whoever uses his intellect over his desires becomes better than the angels, because the angels had what? They had intellect without desires. They didn't have animalistic desires. So if we overcome our animalistic desires, that's of course higher than the angels. And if we neglect our intellectual directive, we direct aql, which tells us to submit to Allah, tells us to obey Allah, recognizes Allah the Exalted, then certainly we are lower than the animals. We are lower than the animals because we have such a beautiful gem that they don't even have access to. They don't have it, and we have it. So what is intellect? The word aql, intellect, is used in different usages, such as a potential, a quwwa, a potential, but it's an ability that Allah has put in us, that Allah has created, that needs Allah, by which the soul derives meanings that produces an idea and explains that very idea. Here, the aql is with sense perception. With sense perception, we mean the mahsusat, the sense perception, the hearing, the seeing, the taste, the touch, the smell. Sense perception. It gets some meanings and it derives ideas from it. Another usage of the word aql, intellect, is the word intellect signifies axioms. What's axioms? Pretty simply, it's those clearly obvious things we know. We call it ilmu baddihi. Like I myself exist. I exist. I don't need an intellectual argument to tell me I exist. It's so aware in me. It's so present. It's so obvious. Amongst axioms, like essential thoughts, common sense, such as two opposites cannot exist in one thing at the same time, or the same thing, existence and non-existence, these are axioms. So that existence and non-existence are not the same thing. Yet another usage, a third usage, is the word aql is used to describe experimental knowledge. Experimental knowledge is knowledge that is learned through experience. Like a mason. A mason is somebody who lays the bricks when they build a brick wall or a brick house. A mason, he understands how to build a wall a lot better than someone who only studied how to build a wall on paper. Why? Because he has experiential knowledge. He has experience. So some things we get through experience. Over here, the human observes and has practical experiments and draws from it, and draws knowledge from it, and is influenced by the results of it, his experience and from his experiments. And through these kind of experiments, it uncovers hidden secrets of things. We discover things that Allah has created, because the whole system is created by Allah the Exalted. We're just discovering things. The fourth usage of the word aql, intellect, is used to refer to what we could term as the practical intellect. Practical means those things that have to do with our do's and don'ts. In the old philosophy, they divided philosophical branches into two types: theoretical, nazari, and amaliya, practical. Practical, in the practical side of the whole broad, general philosophical division, we had things like akhlaq, because it had to do with your do's and don'ts of yourself, house management. So we're talking, when we say practical, we mean something that has to do with our actions. So this is when the human uses his intellect and applies and implements it through contemplation and experiment. Here the human is able to know right from wrong. Here the human is able to know good from bad. Hence, if he is aqil, if he is the one who is using his intellect, he will be successful. He'll do what's right. And if he is not aqil, he is not the one who's using his intellect, he or she is the one who fails to do what is right, fails to use their intellect, and happens to do what is wrong, then that person is considered as foolish. Jahil. They're acting against intellect. The opposite of intellect is foolishness. Therefore, aql is a faculty in the human soul that Allah the Exalted has placed in it that is impacting human life. And it is possible in all these spheres that I mentioned, all four of these types of intellectual things. Such an intellect, such an aql is a gift from Allah the Exalted, and is a proof upon mankind that leaves him or her no excuse. It's a proof between mankind and Allah the Exalted. So this aql will direct us towards Allah the Exalted. So we have to listen to it. Look at this narration that proves this point. This narration is the very first hadith in which Sheikh Kulaini had put in Kitab al-Kafi. Kitab al-Kafi is one of our 4 major hadith collections. And we don't say every hadith is authentic or every hadith is reliable. But this very important compilation, which was compiled in the very early time, was compiled by Sheikh Kulaini. Sheikh Kulaini, he picked the very first hadith of this collection as this narration, which is an authentic hadith. Authentic hadith. Sahih, we call that. That means every narrator was trustworthy, thiqa, and Shia Ithna Ashari. And we have different types of reliable hadith. This is good. This is proof on us. So this hadith is narrated by Muhammad ibn Muslim from Abu Ja'far. Abu Ja'far alayhi salam is Imam Bakr alayhi salam, our 5th Imam alayhi salam. He said the following, and this is just a translation of it, so the Arabic is much better, and you could benefit from it more. You read the Arabic and reflect on it, benefit a lot more, because English never does the best job. So this hadith says, when Allah the Exalted created aql, intellect, He made it speak. Then He said to it, come forward. And what did aql do? Aql came forward. Aql obeyed Allah. First action of intellect. Obedience. So aql came forward. It came forward, the Imam says. Then he said, go back. And what did aql do? Aql again obeyed. Second act, obeyed Allah. He says, it went back. Then Allah said, I swear by my honor and glory that I have not created any creature more beloved to me than you. I will not perfect you in anyone except those whom I love. I, however, will command only you to do things. I will command you and prohibit you to doing certain things. And I will grant blessings to you and subject you to punishment. This is because all our punishments, all our reward, all the commands, all the prohibitions are going to be based on intellect. If someone doesn't have intellectual ability, okay, they don't have taklif. But people, they have taklif commonly, generally. Everything is built on this intellectual awareness. So, intellect is the most important thing, one of the most important things we can mention. And so scholars, they differ whether this hadith is literal or metaphorical. So there's discussion there amongst scholars. But before I end, because I'm running over my time, so before I end, Aql, it recognizes Allah the Exalted. You can see in that hadith. That hadith tells us that intellect is aware of Allah, knows His authority, obeys His authority. These are important points for us. So, Aql recognizes Allah the Exalted.